Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our second annual virtual fundraiser. Thank you so much for tuning in. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up. Due to COVID regulations, we did have to pre-record some of our material, which you'll see in a bit, but I promise we'll be back live after that. So I hope you enjoy.
Hi, all. My name is Angela Danring, and I'm the Executive Director at the Domestic Abuse Women's Network. I'd like to welcome you all to our second annual virtual spring fundraising event. Our theme tonight will focus on the behind the scenes, life saving, hope induced, amazing work of our advocates to the survivors and me. Despite the terrible pandemic that's affected us all, Dawn remains a pillar of hope and help for domestic violence survivors. Although the beginning portion of our event is pre-recorded today, the advocate panel at the end will be live and accessible by all viewers to pose questions. We encourage folks to pose questions as they come to them throughout the presentation. There is a slight delay in the chat box of when you ask a question, so please start asking them early. Thank you, and we hope you'll consider partnering with Dawn by helping us raise $50,000 for critical, holistic programs and domestic violence survivors. For those of you who've never been to our event before, you're probably asking yourself, who is Dawn? The Domestic Abuse Women's Network is a nonprofit organization that supports, empowers, and shelters domestic violence survivors. We work throughout South King County in order to prevent the terrible generational cycle of abuse. Our prevention program highlights and provides healthy relationship curriculum to middle school, high school, and college campuses. And we believe that every person impacted by domestic violence deserves a return to dignity. Serving survivors for 41 years, Dawn's vision has remained a world with everyone living in a peaceful community. Despite the pandemic, Dawn was able to provide 21,500 services to survivors in need, answered 3,800 calls on our 24-hour advocacy and support line, and provided 7,100 safe bed nights for women and children in our confidential shelter. However, our work is never done. Abuse thrives in isolation, and local police departments are reporting alarming rates and increases in domestic violence calls during the past year. In fact, according to King County Prosecuting Attorney Dan Satterberg, there are currently 6,500 criminal DV cases in the court system. 6,500 in our court system as of now. This number is double than the number of cases during this time at the start of 2020. We know there's not a person watching this virtual event that doesn't stand shoulder to shoulder with us in our mission. You are our backbone, our support, our donors, our volunteers, and our family. We couldn't do any of this important work without you, and we do thank you for joining us. I do want to give a big thank you to our sponsors this evening, Solal Credit Union and Seattle Lives. We are so grateful to your continued generosity for Dawn. Many of you are watching with us tonight because of an invitation from one of our virtual table captains. We thank you, table captains, for your flexibility and for being a pillar of support for Dawn. I'd also like to thank all of our staff who participated in our upcoming video and our expert panel. Thank you all for sharing your stories with us today and for your dedication to our survivors. Finally, thank you to all of you who are joining with us virtually tonight. It is my wish that this event leaves you inspired and hopeful, aware, and in the midst of these difficult times, we are able to make a difference and be a light for those in need. I'd like to now introduce to you our new board president, Chief Andy McCurdy, who also has a message for you.
My name is Andy McCurdy, and I'm the new board president for the year 2021. I joined the board about 3 years ago, and my goal with joining the board was to support survivors. And in law enforcement, we often are asked to do things that we're not well equipped to do, and we need to be able to have relationships with organizations that can support us in achieving the goal of safety. I formed a relationship with Dawn professionally first because I saw a need in our community for support for survivors when they were struggling. And with that relationship, I saw a need with Dawn that I thought I could fill by providing a different perspective and also myself learning more about what Dawn does so that I could figure out how I could better collaborate and provide that support to staff. On the board, we've had discussions about our goals for the year, and all the board members agree that one of our biggest goals this year is to better understand and learn about what the staff and Dawn does so that we can figure out as a board how we can better support them as well. The amazing work that the staff does here enables a lot of the rest of us who work in the system in criminal justice to better function and to focus on the needs of victims and survivors. And we just couldn't do that without the work that they do. So the collaboration, the support, and the financial support that they need to carry out their mission is a big part of why most of us are on the board. The board is made up of a diverse group of people from a lot of different backgrounds and businesses, and we all have that same goal of trying to support the staff and Dawn so they can support those survivors. So thank you for attending this event, and we appreciate your contributions and your participation. If nothing else, I hope you can walk away learning a little bit about what Dawn does, and maybe even if you can't support financially, maybe you can find something else you can do to help further this mission. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Andy McCurdy. We appreciate your dedication and passion, and I look forward to serving alongside of you as our new board president, and I'm looking forward to the year ahead.
Thank you, Angela.
Now it is my pleasure to present the Terry Kimball Award for 2020, delayed because of the pandemic. Terry Kimball served as Dawn's executive director from 2001 to 2006 and was an advocate and activist for women and children experiencing domestic violence. Terry would seek out those in a position to help, get them to stand with her, and take action. She formed domestic violence coalitions and moved the issue from society's shadow to the agenda of legislative and community leaders. This award recognizes individuals with that same commitment. Our award recipient for 2020 is a grassroots nonprofit organization that is 100% supported by volunteers. With the support of volunteer designers, artists, laborers, and sponsors, this group transforms shelters throughout the area into a more home-like, comfortable atmosphere. In October of 2019, CEO Teresa Valley and her dedicated, passionate team began to transform our entire shelter. The bright and welcoming colors, soft lighting, innovative designs, and comfy pillow and bed sets. Our shelter residents were absolutely delighted by these changes, and their smiles were infectious. To this day, Girls Giving Back continues to transform our family shelter. I am pleased and honored to present the Terry Kimball Award to Girls Giving Back CEO and founder, Teresa Valley.
Thank you so much.
Teresa.
Yes, absolutely. We are honored to receive this award. I am representing such a wonderful group of volunteers and community members that support GGB and organizations like yours so that we can impact the environment of these shelters, which in turn just changes everything. The feeling of the shelter that we feel you should have, which is filled with love and hope and joy. So to receive this is an honor, and we are so excited to continue to partner with Dawn. Our partnerships, when they start, they do not end. It's a matter of us communicating with our community as an extension of Dawn so that we can continue to support you. At the same time, to look back and look at that environment that we created, we are so proud of that. And we are so grateful that you allowed us into your space so that we could make that impact. So thank you for including us.
Thank you so much. The smiles continue to this day. And I was so honored to have the opportunity to watch all that unfold and have the walkthrough after it was complete. Absolutely beautiful, and means the absolute world our continued partnership between your agency and ours.
Excellent.
Thank you, Teresa. We are so thankful for Girls Giving Back for your hard work. It is now my pleasure to play a video that highlights the work that Dawn staff and volunteers are doing. I hope you have some questions to ask our live advocate panel coming up later.
My name is Ashani Matthews. I've been at Dawn going on 2 years. I am shelter program lead, so I supervise our shelter staff and our emergency shelter. More often than not, our screening is usually open weekly to bi-weekly, so we are usually doing anywhere from 2 to 4 screenings a month if there's an opening at our shelter. Our intakes look a little different compared to our mobile advocate intakes, just because when clients are calling us, they are in high lethality situations. So usually they'll call our crisis line, they're in danger, they need to flee from their abuser right away. We will schedule an intake usually within the same day. And then they come in, they get a tour, they complete our paperwork, and they go over our shelter stay agreement. We literally get to live and be in the same space, work in the same space as our clients. And I think that saying that you live with your clients is a really weird statement, but it really is. You come into work and families are getting ready for work, getting ready for school, they're cooking breakfast, and you get to smell all the yummy stuff that they're making. And then when you're leaving work, they're usually coming home from work and they're making dinner and the kids are playing. And so it's a really intimate setting. It's one of my favorite things.
So most rooms consist of a twin size bed. They'll have some type of place, whether a closet or drawers to put their clothing. And then we usually have what we call our hygiene basket. So hygiene basket will now have hand sanitizer, masks, laundry detergent, toothbrush, soap, towels. But every room is cleaned and equipped with a laundry basket with all the hygiene products. This room is usually for quiet time. If they need a phone call, if children are on school, moms are working. It's really just time for them to have time to themselves. This is our warehouse. This is where staff put all of our inventory from our partnership with Amazon, Food Lifeline, and a few other agencies that we work with. All of the inventory is usually unboxed, shelved, and then we put it into our outside pantry. We get things from home goods, cleaning products, to food, to hygiene products, all types of things that you could possibly think of. We get it from these partners. So this is an ongoing project that we're always working on to organize, making sure we're pushing these things out to clients so that way we can empty out this warehouse. So this playground was actually recently installed in 2019. We had local firefighters take down the whole playground, and then we had a generous donor that donated the equipment. But this has been a really great addition to shelter ever since.
We had a survivor who was successfully exiting our program, and before she left, she came to us and she was bawling her eyes out, and she just kept saying, "I don't think you guys realize how deeply you touched me and my family and provided safety," and just completely touched my soul.
My name is Elba Moreira. I have been in Dawn for 3.5 years, and I am a legal and immigration advocate for Dawn. I've been also in the United States for 3.5 years because I'm an immigrant myself. What I do as an advocate, usually when I explain that to people, I usually ask them, Have you ever been in a country where you don't speak the language or you feel the reality is so much different than yours? The fact that we can just do everything with you, like just get on the bus with you and try to help you understand how that works, helping you use Google Maps, things that people, when you are part of a specific country, you don't understand how hard it might be for someone else. So it's sort of funny to know that some things that I might take for granted, it's not something very common to someone else. So after that, I usually ask them, so imagine going through that and the feelings of feeling completely lonely or thinking, what am I doing here? What happens if I get lost? Imagine adding to that a very drastic change in your life. Like if you have to divorce, or if you have to battle for custody of your children, or if you need to file a protection order because your partner has become really abusive. Facing the court system in any country can be very overwhelming, and especially if you're not from that country. So that's where legal advocates come in. Someone like me will help you understand a little bit of what the process looks like. Also knowing that we are not attorneys, so there's very little information that we can provide for your specific case, but at least we can tell you what it looks like and we can help you, accompany you in the process. And also part of my job is to help you put together your own case. So if you need police records, if you need medical records, if you need to communicate with your consulate, I'm able to help you with that. At the end of the day, there's also other things as an immigrant you might need to help you with immigration information. So if I hear in your case that you might have a path to citizenship, I'm also help you to connect you with legal organizations and also help you put together your own packet for immigration. It feels great to have somebody like that, and I'm happy to be someone like that for them.
My name is Kate Hawes, and I have been the development manager and the volunteer coordinator at Dawn for the last 2 years or so. Working at Dawn in the development field, really, there's nothing that's ever really the same, so it varies from day to day, which is something I really love about this position. And so during the spring and the fall, when we have our 2 major fundraisers, it looks a lot about procuring items and working with vendors and registrations. But on a normal day to day, if there is such a thing in this field, it is grant writing and online fundraisers and working to create our development volunteer programs and departments, our agency marketing materials, and other fundraiser programs like Adopt a Family. So even before the pandemic and before virtual events were a big thing, Dawn really was active on online fundraisers like Give Big that occurs every year in May. And Give Big is an online fundraising campaign within Washington State that really rallies support for thousands of registered nonprofits and other agencies and causes for social justice, and really draws attention to them from our community and our partners. Dawn was active in Give Big last year with their goal of $5,000, and we asked for general operating support to really help with just those incidental things that happen with survivors that we just don't plan for, like doctor's visits and vet bills. And thankfully, and we were so honored and blessed to have tripled our goal last year. And so this year we're really excited to take part in Give Big again in May and have a whole new goal for client assistance needs that will directly support survivors. Working at Dawn, and specifically in the development field, I really love that we get to see the full fruition of our work. So I love that we get to work with this amazing community and donor base that really care about the well-being of our survivors that we serve, and putting on these fundraising events and seeing that money come in, and then in turn being able to utilize those funds for a woman and her children for a down payment or rental assistance for their first ever safe home away from abuse. That is my favorite part about working at Dawn.
My name is Wambui Kamau, and my job title is Prevention Advocate. I have been at Dawn for the last 5 years. My main job entails prevention work, which is letting folks know what a healthy relationship is and what an unhealthy relationship is. And when they identify any unhealthy thing in a relationship, they seek for support, and that's what we do. One instance is this survivor who did not know that there is support out there, and they came to know Dawn through a friend of theirs who contacted me directly. They were lost in the abuse, intimidation, emotional support, and financial exploitation. They were intimidated that they would be reported to the immigration officers and they would be deported. So when they came to me, we talked about the address confidentiality program, and they got enrolled into it. We also talked about them leaving their abusers, and there was a safe moving out of their home. They were also able to find a job and a house and school for their children. And with legal advocacy also, they were able to get a no contact order, and they are safe as we speak. My work is to support them and also provide resources where they can find support without shaming or without blaming, and where they can be believed.
My name is Lindsay Barkley. I am the Mental Health Program Manager at Dawn. I have been with Dawn since April of 2018, so almost 3 years now. My main job is providing direct one-on-one mental health therapy to the clients that we serve, as well as supporting staff and being able to provide trauma-informed services. I do intakes for clients that are in crisis situations pretty regularly. The advocates are able to let me know when somebody is in immediate mental health crisis, and I'm able to get them in right away. And then I do a full biopsychosocial assessment in order to identify the mental health needs of each individual client and come up with a service plan. People may not know that we still get the extra protections of privileged communication underneath the domestic violence agency, which other mental health programs do not. As well as in this program, we don't do any formal mental health diagnosis. We don't do super structured treatment planning. It's more immediate need for the client and trying to help stabilize. I had one family I was working with, and the survivor had done a lot of work in identifying her anxiety and triggers. And when she first came to me, she was timid and quiet. And working with her, she was able to reclaim her life and her voice. And her daughter got to see her working on her anxieties and heal from the trauma that they both endured. And through that, we were able to normalize anxiety, not just for this client and help her heal, but to help her daughter heal and to be able to finally talk about the feelings that happened of what she experienced. And this little girl was able to start being able to talk about the scary things, and that was huge. And she told me it was because of me, because I'm her best friend. I love working with empowered women, I love empowering women, and I love helping people find their voices again.
My name is Kate Bianchi. I've been at Dawn for just over a year now, and I am a shelter advocate. I work mostly with our residents here at our emergency shelter. I provide emotional support, a listening ear, as well as resources for the next steps in their lives. In the last year, I've had a lot of really powerful connections with our clients and a lot of really amazing moments. Being a resource for people, being able to sit down with a family who is just starting over and say that there is hope, there is a way out, there is a way forward. Getting out, that healing, that starting your life over is not a linear process. Marketplace is our food assistance program, as well as cleaning supplies, hygiene products, household supplies sometimes.
With 2020 and the pandemic, we had to figure out how to go no contact to keep our volunteers, our staff, and our clients safe. And as always, the most important thing for us is to make sure that we stay equitable across the board so that all of our clients get as much as they need without any chance of somebody missing something.
My name is Kanwar Parhar. I'm a student. I've been with Dawn for 3.5 years now. It's been one of my passions since I first started here and just love this place. Currently, since the pandemic started, I've been helping out with Marketplace and just have been loving it since. I think Marketplace is one of those amazing services that Dawn offers just to take off the stress from survivors' minds. Food is one of those main things that nobody wants to stress about. And because of the COVID-19 pandemic, I think this stress has been exacerbated a lot more. And being a part of Dawn, I think being part of that team that's able to just bring even one meal to a survivor's night, something they don't have to think about, that just takes their mind off things. Considering so many things they're already going through, I think my job is done. That just sounds really warming to me, and that's why I love doing my job here.
Hello, everyone. Wow, I'm so impressed by our Dawn staff and our volunteers. That was such a great video, and I'm happy to say that I'm honored to work alongside this team every day. The hard work, the dedication, and all of the survivors that they help. Tonight, this event is about them. This event's about our survivors, our staff, our mission, and our passion to serve our community. At Dawn, you may be wondering, after watching this video, what's next? What's next for Dawn? Last year, I feel, really kind of helped individuals start to look at what steps to take, what growth looks like, and I'm excited to be in this new year. With Dawn, what's next for us is growth. What's next for Dawn is expanding. What's next for Dawn is outreach. And what's next for Dawn is finding impact, continuing to be the impact organization for domestic violence in South King County. At Dawn, we are looking to support, empower, and shelter survivors of domestic abuse. In the previous video, you had a chance to see many of our programs at our agency. We serve throughout children, the shelter, the marketplace, youth prevention, legal advocacy, immigration, and so many other types of community support that we do through task committees, task force, legislative, as well as community trainings. The agency to continue to move forward, to continue to take the change that is needed, be the change that we need to see for the survivors, and really help expand upon the greatest need that we work with every day. In King County, for shelter, for one family out of 57, 56 are turned away. That is too high of a number. We need to look at where our services can lie, where we can expand, and where we can serve. Two aspects of our expansion that we are looking at in 2021 is to take a look at our community advocacy impact, which has some of the areas that were mentioned in our video, from mental health to the youth advocacy to mobile advocacy and our emergency shelter. As we identify our greatest needs in the community, we feel that these two areas could impact. Already in 2021, we are starting to see an uptick in the need of services. We are starting to see an increase in call volume, both through our crisis line, as well as our intake requests for our shelter. We want to be part of a solution. We want to be part of the empowerment, and we want to be part of the continued mission in our community. To do that, we need you, our volunteers, our donors, the fantastic staff that you got to watch on the video, as well as our overall strategic plan to expand upon our community advocacy and expansion opportunities for our emergency shelter. We at Dawn had an opportunity to take a look at the area of need, to look at the communities we serve, and to find our next path. As I mentioned, we have a high turnaaway rate in King County. We now know that these are challenging times and that abuse thrives in isolation. The need for our services is greater now than ever. I am happy to serve this community and like to introduce next our fantastic panel of experts. Thank you.
a few sent-in questions pre-event, and so we'd like to ask Lindsay, who is in the mental health field. Something we don't hear as much about is the mental health aspect of domestic violence. What is something the mental health department needs most right now?
Well, our agency may be small but mighty, but we definitely only have one therapist on staff, which is myself. With the looking forward to the future related to how domestic violence survivors have been impacted by specifically pandemic and isolation that they have faced with their perpetrator, we're going to need more mental health support moving forward. My ask is support in finding funding to help support an additional staff person to give more intensive trauma-informed care to survivors.
Thank you. As an immigration advocate, Elba, what is one need that you would like to see fulfilled?
It's a need and it's also a dream. I would like to see an immigrant fund to also at some point be able to serve so many culturally appropriate services to provide, to be able to fund translations in writing. We're not always able to serve that, and it's always important for legal advocacy to be able to have this translated to English. So an immigrant fund would be a very good way to start addressing that obstacle.
Ashane, what is one need right now at shelter?
A huge need for shelter is going to be a box truck. So on average, our shelter staff unloads partnership goods and donations about 6,000 pounds every other week. The box truck is also utilized for moving clients out of shelter and into their new homes. So when they get new furniture or they have an abundance of things at shelter, we utilize the box truck. The box truck right now is and has been in good use, but we could be in need for a new one here pretty soon.
Thank you. Going back to the mental health department, if a survivor is needing mental health services, how do they go about setting up an appointment with you, Lindsay?
So first and foremost, we want them to be able to connect with our advocacy services first to do some very important safety planning to make sure that their world and environment is going to be safe enough for them to be able to engage in that service. From there, the advocate will refer them directly to me, and then I will reach out to start providing outpatient services.
Elba, what kind of legal support can you provide for a client?
We do a lot of accompaniment to court. We also can refer them to attorneys who are very well trained to work with people who have experienced domestic violence for specific needs, like if they need to work on divorce or parenting plans, which is a little different because domestic violence does permeate everything. So you need legal advocates and also attorneys who know how to handle that.
Ashane, can you tell us one resident story that has stood out to you the most in the last year?
Yeah, so just recently we had a survivor flying from out of state. She had a younger daughter with her as well. While she was at our shelter, she was able to access safety planning, different services, whether that was mental health, Dawn's client funds, client assistant funds. She also had a housing voucher that we were able to support her in getting ported to King County. After being ported, she was here for about a month, and then she was able to successfully exit into a safe and stable home for her and her daughter. And then we were able to access furniture referral for her as well. So she is now successfully exited from our program and into our mobile advocacy program.
Great. We did just have a question come in. What is the most common age of those seeking services right now at shelter?
The most common age would be anywhere around 27 to maybe 30 plus years old for the head of household. For kiddos that are at shelter, children are usually younger. Probably the most common age is going to be under 10. We very rarely have kids that are around teen ages. They're less frequent.
Lindsay, I've been reading about how mental health needs have greatly increased due to the pandemic. Can you please tell us some of the same trends that you see in survivors?
Absolutely. Isolation is a breeding ground for mental health concerns, let alone not having your normal social supports or outlets, being able to go to work, those things that tend to regulate us a little bit more. I've definitely noticed an increase of people experiencing anxiety, depression, severe grief over what this last year has brought to them.
Elva, for our last question today about immigration, how common is it that you see survivors come to Dawn who don't speak English as their first language? And you have more than one translator on staff, which I believe you might have answered already.
Yeah, almost all of my clients are non-native English speakers. So we need, when I'm a Spanish speaker, so I'm able to communicate with many of them, but many of them also are not Spanish speakers. So we always have translators or interpreters, but it's always a need that we need to fulfill. And for the time being, we only have 2 Spanish-speaking people, and most of the translation is myself. But that's why I'm so happy about the immigrant fund, if it could happen. So thank you everybody for making it happen at some point.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to answer our questions today on our advocate panel. At this time, we'll have you come back and we'll have Annie Ramirez, our Director of Development, come on stage.
Hey, everybody. So thank you, everybody who submitted their questions to the panel. I know there was a little bit of trouble with our YouTube channel, which, I mean, what can you do? Technology, right? So I'm sorry if anybody didn't get an opportunity to ask a question, but if you would like to do that, you can always put it, if you log onto our YouTube channel, you can always go on there, type your question, and we'll answer it ourselves. Or you can always email me, Annie@dawnrising.org, and we would be happy to answer your questions. So sorry about the technology glitch. It happens, but it's all good. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Annie. Like he had said, I'm the Director of Development here, and I'm here tonight live to talk to you about how you can provide help and hope for the many survivor families that we serve and save by partnering with us. However, first I'd like to share a story with you about one of our families so that you can get a better picture about what we did for this family in crisis and how your support makes a difference. Sometimes support means life or death for a family. So what would you do if you had an abuser hire a private investigator who managed to find you and your children on 3 separate occasions all over the US while you're trying to flee? This is what one survivor faced with her children in tow on 3 separate occasions. She came to Dawn, the 4th place, and state that she tried to escape from her violent abuser, who was able to get out on bond, and hired this PI to find her, and he found them 3 times. So once she got here in Washington State, she was in the hotel with limited funding and scared about wherever she was going to go next, and just so worried about being discovered by this PI. So she called Dawn on our crisis line, and given the lethality of her situation, she and her kids were brought into our shelter the next day. At first, her and the kids were very scared, understandably, and they didn't seem to want to relax or get comfortable at our shelter because they've had to flee so many times. They were just assuming that this is going to be another time where they had to flee when they were discovered. However, over the months, they slowly started to settle in, and they regained hope that they would be able to build a life slowly and somewhere and without the need to flee again. For a long time, the mom couldn't use her name for anything in fear that she would be tracked. So Dawn was able to help her and her children with the things that they needed, and was able to, so she was able to stay safe. Dawn also provided the family with mental health therapy so that they could start working on some of the trauma that they were challenged with. Slowly, they were able to feel alive again. After several months, the mom was able to get back on her feet, and Dawn was able to get her into a transitional housing program where she got her own apartments with the kids, and they were able to have their own room. So today, the family is so happy in their new apartment. They're finally free from violence and from fear. And mom is hopeful that she's going to find a job soon and grateful that they can feel like a normal family again. This is just one example of the families that we're able to save thanks to the support of the community, like you guys. And donations made to Dawn continue to make this life-saving, hope-giving work possible. This fundraiser is critical because your donations provide flexible funding that allows Dawn to serve survivors in a holistic and tailored way, like we did for this family. We ask for your contribution tonight to continue our mission to support, empower, shelter, and educate, to help us fight for other DV survivors who need to be pulled to safety before it's too late. Your generosity right now, especially after such a difficult year, can also help us expand our programs into more schools to continue the conversations about the changing culture and help us lead the prevention of domestic violence amongst young people. Will you continue to help us support, empower, shelter, and educate? Can you make that investment in Dawn tonight? If you're considering an amount that you can give, we have an incredible matching opportunity thanks to the Lucky 7 Foundation. They'll match dollar for dollar of your gift of $200 or higher, up to $10,000. Our goal tonight is to raise $50,000 in flexible funding that allows us to best serve our survivors. How do you make a donation, you ask? I'm glad you did. If you scroll up on the same webpage where you click to view this live stream event, you'll notice a button above that says Make a Donation, which takes you to a secure online donation auction page. From there, you can able to click Get Started button, which allows you to sign up and put your info in, including your credit card details. From there, you can make your donation by choosing click Save a Survivor, and it has the different levels. You can also make a donation by clicking the box at the very top of the page that you're viewing this live stream event from. Just make sure to type Spring Fundraiser in the notes section so we know it's towards the fundraiser. Alternatively, you can always mail in a check. Our secure box is P.O. Box 1449, Kent, 98035. Just to give you an idea about what the support would mean, a donation of $200 allows us to provide 4 hours of legal advocacy to a survivor, a service that has risen at 22% recently in demand. A donation of $1,000 provides 34 hours of personal advocacy and safety planning for a survivor, and that's our most requested service in 2020. A gift of $2,500 provides 6 weeks of shelter, food, and support for shelter residents, which is actually 42 safe sleep nights for a child, if you break it down. Your support also helps to purchase things like for the shelter rooms, like new mattresses, bed frames, nightstands, to make a family feel more at home and comfortable while staying with us. Your support even helps us to provide crucial mental health treatment and support. We know this work is hard. The journey continues to be difficult, but you are here watching this evening because you know, like me, there's no other option. There's only one way to approach the issue of DV, and that is to go all in. Thank you for being part of the change and part of our movement towards peaceful communities. We are grateful to have the opportunity to share our message with you this evening. And thank you to all the speakers who shared their stories with us tonight. I want to give a huge final thank you to our sponsoring partners this year, Salah Credit Union and Seattle Lives. And many thanks to our matching gift partner, the Lucky 7 Foundation. We're so grateful for your continued support and generosity to Dawn. Congrats again to Girls Giving Back for their Dawn Terry Kimball Community Service Award. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate you so much. And thank you to our amazing table captains. We really appreciate you. Thank you for everybody for tuning in, and we wish you all continued health, hope, and peace.